Let's do an analysis of Dasan Station ZvZ. This is a very non-standard map, perhaps the strangest map in the current ladder pool. The rush distance between the players is very, very short, and both players have a close gold base that is expanding toward the opponent. So on this map, rather than go for the standard hatch gas pool, I'm going for a 14 hatch, and then joining up to 15, taking a pool, with the plan to use Queen Spine Ling to defend early aggression. The opponent is going for a pool first, and they're going to try and put on some pressure with early Zerglings. Normally you would think that pool first like this would be a hard counter to a gold base expanding toward the opponent, but think about this expenditure as not only a base where you can mine from later on, but also as a health buffer and sort of the main tank of your hive cluster in the earliest stage. So this is the first moment where the player who's going pool first is trying to take an advantage by sniping a base and sniping drones by this expansion. I have 17 workers to the opponent's 12, so that's a 5 drone lead, and I have double the production. So I have a queen coming from the main, and then I have a queen coming from the natural, and 2 hatches are producing larvae. The opponent only has 1 hatch producing larvae. Their follow behind this is Roach Warren and a gas. So I definitely have the economy lead here. If your economy lead is very great, it's acceptable to pull some drones to save a base. So I'm letting this hatch get some value. You get 1500 HP for a pretty reasonable cost of 350 minerals. And then here I pull, let's see, around 7 drones as I'm making lings and queens. So my goal here isn't to trade just yet, because here the opponent's lings are going to be a little bit better against ling drone. So I'm just trying to buy time and prevent these lings from finishing off this base. So I take a little fight here, and then I pull back, just trying to keep these drones alive. Now we're even on workers, but I still have the edge of production, where I have 2 hatches, and now I have 2 queens. Queens, as units, gain value over the course of the match because they have energy. This spine crawler is something I felt like I could afford, and as a general rule, spine crawlers are going to be the most effective in the early game before upgrades come into play. They're very, very sturdy expenditures, and on this map in particular, with the rush distance being so short and only having 1 attack lane before rocks are broken, spine crawlers are incredible value, regardless of what kind of aggression the opponent goes for. So I see they expended to the gold as well, and I see a Roach Warren. This doesn't really cause me to deviate from my plan. My plan is basically to leverage value from this gold base, from this main base, make queens and drones until I have a good enough economy to take some gas. So I have a drone lead now with 23. The opponent is very, very far behind in production and larva because they delayed queens so they could make more aggressive units early. This spine crawler is working on these rocks here. It's pretty important to finish off these rocks eventually for a couple reasons. One reason that you'll see later on is it opens up a counterattack path for the opponent, so you can send units up this path and then over to the left, up this ramp, and then they can flank the opponent from the backside. A lot of times they won't expect that angle. For now I have a 2nd spine crawler in production because they're such good value, and once an attack is happening, I'm just massing lings and queens with my own Roach Warren on the way. Roaches like this aren't very strong against mass queen ling, mainly because they don't have speed, they don't have upgrades. They're not a very mobile threat. They can wedge themselves in this small area, but these spine crawlers are zoning out any future units that would try to come in. So this pressure is basically held. The next attack comes in. 5 kills on that spine before it dies. This spine has 6 kills, 7 kills. Yeah, spine crawlers are amazing. And there's a natural synergy between queens and spines because queens gain energy to transfuse the spines, which is sort of like getting free spine crawlers. I'm working on the rocks anytime the opponent isn't attacking me, is another way of getting value for the attacking units you have in the game. I don't want to trade off creep. I'm pretty confident that I have the economy advantage because I've been droning during these attacks. To take a quick checkpoint look at my economy size, I have about half saturation in the main, 1 gas, and mostly saturated at the gold base. The opponent has exactly half saturation at their gold base, and 6 workers in the main with a 2nd gas on the way. So they're playing very, very all-in, trying to kill me as quickly as they can with Lingroach Ravager, and I'm using Defender's Advantage, which means I get to fight on my creep, and I get to have Spine Crawlers on my side of the map. Ravagers are a sort of counter unit to Spine Crawlers, because Spines can't very easily dodge the Corrosive Biles. There's sort of a decision that you have. If Corrosive Bile is cast at a Spine, you can opt to uproot it and move it and then root it again. I would say in this scenario where the Ravager count is small, like it's only 1 to 2 Ravagers using the Corrosive Bile, it's better to just keep them rooted, because what you're evaluating is the amount of damage that the Spine will take from the Corrosive Bile weighed against the time it would take to uproot, move, and then root again. During that period, it won't be able to attack, so if they Corrosive Bile the Spine and you uproot it and move it, they could rush in and the Spine won't be able to participate. So here I decided, I have Queens, I'll be able to transfuse this. I'm okay with letting the Spine take some damage and just staying very solid and safe and sturdy. Now that these rocks are broken, anytime I make some extra links, I could just send them up and around into the opponent's base. Here, I'm spending all my gas into Roach, and then any extra mineral I get into Ling and Queen. This rule sort of applies in ZVP as well if you're going for Roach Ling, and in ZvZ, at the 3 base stage, a lot of times you can spend your gas into Roach and then your mineral into Drone. This is a very small counterattack. I put these Lings on a separate hotkey, and I'm sending them around the backside after beating these rocks over here. With Queens, they're so slow off creep that I don't really want to risk moving off of it if I don't have to. I'll just keep creeping toward my opponent. It only takes a few tumor cycles to get all the way there, so I'm just going to defend on my side of the map and then do damage here with my indirect force, just enough Lings to beat a Queen. I sent in 6 Lings, and it takes about 4 to beat a Queen if they micro perfectly. 6 Lings and it'll very easily beat a Queen. This has tons of value in dividing the opponent's attention. Before, they were just focusing on this one area, but now, having broken the rocks and done a counterattack, these Lings can lower the larva income of this base. There won't be a Queen to inject it anymore. And they'll have to divide their forces and put enough in their main to beat these 5 Lings, which doesn't take very much in terms of value, but it takes a lot more in terms of attention. Taking my 3rd base, and then just defending with the Spine whenever they agree to fight into it.